In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things that reliably occurred during those first few years of my spiritual awakening, whenever it was time for my soul to level me up and expand my consciousness, further alchemizing my energetic body from fear into unconditional love, and how these sequences show up in my reality today. So, if you were wondering what's going on with you, emotionally, spiritually, and probably even physically, stick around. And you will breathe a sigh of relief knowing that this is all part of the divine plan. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Izzy, your soul energy alchemist, and I'm here to help you embrace your IZ-NESS. Before we begin, I want to preface that your spiritual journey will have its own signature, vibration, thereby guiding you through yours uniquely and individually, okay? And as this journey is always forward moving, like the ticks of the second hand on a clock, each tick bringing you closer and closer into alignment with your soul, even though it might appear as though you are stuck and failing miserably at this. And this was my famous whoa for the entire beginning of my awakening. It is imperative that you learn to trust what you cannot make sense of, for that is how the soul operates. It likes to keep us guessing. Okay, so here we go. Number 1. I used to be so vulnerable to the astral and cosmic elements, whether it be the moon phases, celestial phenomenons, or solstice energies. Summer solstice, for whatever reason, loved to screw with my mojo every freaking year, for years, causing a lot of unrecognizable mood swings, depression, and depleted energy and fatigue. I was always exhausted during this part of my awakening, and I spent so much time lying down. My daughter was like, "Are you okay?" Now, this was 3 years before my spinal degeneration disability that I've mentioned before, happened. So there wasn't any medical evidence to support these symptoms, nor did it explain why they were so exacerbated during these Dark Night of the Soul events. It was perplexing, to say the least, but my teacher always assured me that this is what happens when you are misaligned and wallowing in fear, and that, it will pass, to just keep doing the work, and so that's what I did. Fast forward to the present moment, I hardly noticed them anymore. In fact, before they were in my face, wreaking havoc. I was literally tossed about like a kite in a heavy wind, subjected to the whims of their course disrupt. But now, whenever I am feeling off my game, I usually find out weeks later that there was some sort of retrograde or it was a full moon weekend. Maybe I'm part werewolf, I don't know. But like the tides, we are not exempt from these universal forces, and so we have to deal with them as they come up. We are, however, in charge of how we respond to them. And, for myself, having created harmony within, when they do arise, they are, subtle and non-intrusive to my Zen game. I was also highly sensitive to external stimuli. Large crowds were, all of a sudden an issue for this extrovert. I'd find myself overwhelmed by the minutest of tasks, like doing my bank book. Seriously, doing my bank book. Relations with friends and family were strained due to how easily disconnected I became from the emotional dissonance of my ego death. And boy, was it brutal sometimes, but a gift in hindsight. Number 2, whatever fear that needs to be addressed becomes amplified. And these fears that came up for me sometimes had me in a figurative fetal position. unable to function for what one might consider an unreasonable amount of time, as what is arising is meant to rattle your cage, show you, smack you awake. My entire identity was crumbling before my very eyes. One huge obstacle I've had to confront was my fear of poverty and not having enough money. My father made a nice income, spent it frivolously on us, and then didn't have the money for school clothes and utilities. At least that's what he always was yelling about. Granted, I have no recollection of not being provided for in a big way, or for instance, witnessing our lights getting turned off. But I believe it was more about the fighting and the threat of no money, the expectation that at any time the ball would drop. That was the real trauma. Because, my parents never kept this stuff from us. We were very young and had to deal with adult problems. A serious blow to my nervous system. So my fractured relationship with money was the fear that kept circling back around in different scenarios. Okay? The old borrowing from Peter to pay Paul cycles. Money would come, the car would break down. Medication that I needed to take at the time cost a fortune, and insurance covered very little of that particular script. I mean, you couldn't make this up. Every windfall was met with the polarized end of it, until I was given the tools to alchemize that fear. And I'm not kidding when I say my life has done a 180 around this topic and every other topic I've had to address. But to clarify, I had the exact same income before the work and long after the work was implemented, when I witnessed the transformation of the energy of currency. Current. Get it? I went from living the reality of the thoughts and beliefs I had around money to living the new reality of the thoughts and beliefs I had about money. See what I just did right now? Perception, people. Change your thoughts, change your reality. I was purging a lot during this time, and so I cried often. And I mean ugly ass crying. The difference now is that lasts for 2 minutes as opposed to 2 days. And it's that short-lived because now I'm feeling my feelings without believing my thoughts. In fact, I barely even have any negative thoughts. So, I'll cry deeply as I'm telling myself that everything is working out for me, that nothing is good or bad, and that everything just is. And then I'll bring myself back into the present moment. And, poof, the fear is gone. I'll get up and just get back into my day. So, whenever I cry or I feel discouraged, it doesn't carry the same dread or heaviness that it used to. I am now separated from it as the observer, having removed it out of my body, okay? And that takes, intention and continuous practice. It is an alchemy, not a one and done fix. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I'll link my video in the description box below, Stop the Tail from Wagging the Dog, which will explain how to become the one that watches. Number 3. In the aftermath of each cycle, during such a challenging spiritual catharsis, I got to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I felt this indescribable sense of release from my pain body, like I was weightless. Oh my gosh, it was so great. Which is, exactly what a higher state of being feels like when enlightenment now is overtaking the shadow self. Now evidenced by breakthroughs, new opportunities, and one aha moment after the next regarding the fear you were just forced to deal with. Everything begins to unfold in your favor because you are no longer dwelling in the ego, and you are mastering the art of detachment from outcomes, letting go and allowing your life to flow to you, bringing everything in that now reflects your higher frequency. Answers you seek will come, and you find yourself going, I see why that kept happening, type of self-talk. Situations you thought were hopeless are resolved like magic, and you start connecting the dots. It's like a big-ass light bulb being flicked on in the dark. It feels amazing. It's a pure sense of Satori. Just in time for another click. And more inner work. The more your frequency elevates and the more you move up another notch on your dial, the more you leave behind and shed the lower vibrational gunk. And with each click, that fear begins to cower, get smaller, as it has no power against the unconditional love of your soul. But this requires a breaking down of a lifetime of patterning. This new sense of self-awareness highlights what you don't want, because now you know what it is that you do want and deserve as the creator of your universe. I have completely metamorphosed my diet, improved my health immensely, aligned with my purpose, which is, why I'm here with you guys today. And the relationships I have with I have with myself and others is mirrored in a life that I didn't ever dare dream of. And this, my friends, is yours for the receiving. Once you begin to align closer to your soul, balance out your polarized energy, and maintain that balance with the unconditional love of your true self, you know what? Reality becomes putty in your hand. Okay, guys, that is a wrap. Please hit the like button if you are digging my vibe. And until next time, I thank you so very much.